Intel's CEO gets told to leave. A UK computer company is leaving, and AMD ain't going nowhere. They're climbing the charts. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast this Friday, August 8th, 2025. As a reminder, we have our Twitch streams where we give away computers quite often, and we're going to be building a PC today, both on Twitch as well as on the YouTube live stream. But this month's giveaways are for the Razer Blade 18 with an RTX 5090 as well as an RX 9060 XT PC, in case you're interested in either one of those. Then we also have a 9070 XT PC as a giveaway over on our twitch.tv/UFD music channel. So we'll have a PC build later today. As of August 8th, we're typically going live around noon Eastern. In case you want to join us for that, we'd love to have you over there. But it turns out that the President of the United States doesn't love having the current CEO of Intel, with him posting over on Truth Social that the CEO of Intel is highly conflicted and must resign immediately. There is no other solution to this problem. What problem is that, you might be asking? And that happens to be potential ties to China and its government with a venture capital firm that the CEO of Intel is actively involved in. This is something that's actually been brought up before Congress in the past few days, and the CEO of Intel has been discussing it, but they do have more than 600 investments in Chinese companies. So that appears to be the problem that is being discussed by President Trump. Now, this is not the first time that the President of the United States has weighed in on the CEO of various different companies and discussed whether or not they're fit for office, and it's not quite clear if this is going to motivate Intel to do something about it. However, their stock did lose 3% upon this post from Truth Social, but it is just yet another pressure that's being applied to Intel, whether that's their unprofitability due to their foundry stuff, the details that are coming out that their 18A node might not be successful, the report that they put out themselves that they don't have a significant customer for 14A, and just now also having the President of the United States oppose their CEO choice is just creating conflict after conflict after conflict for this company. And just on a more personal note, there was a person that worked at Intel that we happen to really like working with who got laid off, and it was a bummer because the layoffs are now happening in full mass, and it appears like there is a lot of stuff going down there, and I'm just curious how this is now going to play out because it is not looking good. You know what else doesn't look good? Your data being all over the internet. You ever get a weird phone call from someone? No, not John Pork, that's normal. I'm talking about those car warranty calls. Yeah, they suck, right? Lucky for you, today's sponsor Incogni offers a super simple solution. So it all starts with you and all your precious data. I'm talking name, phone number, emails, addresses, and even social security numbers. All this is gathered up by those shady data broker fellas sold to other companies, if not worse. Why does this matter? All of this sensitive information is used to bombard you with spam, or even indirectly or not, result in your identity being stolen. All right, so now you know your problem, but how does Incogni solve it? Easy. No, literally, easily, for you at least. Incogni reaches out to those shady broker fellas and gets them to forget about you. And by that, I mean remove your data profile. If they object, Incogni handles any disputes too, all while this whole process is simply being automated. Now, if you want to take a little charge and get your information off of a specific site, you can. With Incogni's new custom removal feature available in the unlimited plan, it's as easy as submitting the link, then waiting for Incogni to verify the link and remove the data. After that, you'll be notified that your data has been removed. Social media websites, government websites, or publications about criminal proceedings cannot be removed. But some random people searching sites, not a problem for Incogni. After your data has been removed from those sites, Incogni makes sure your information stays private by doing repeated removals anytime your sensitive junk starts turning up in places it shouldn't. Keeping removed data off of these websites is kind of a big deal because things as important as your health insurance can be affected by data brokers feeding your online activity to your insurance companies. Incogni offers a variety of different plans, from standard to family unlimited, so you or your family's privacy needs are always met. Use my code UFDTech60 to get 60% off an annual plan when you check out Incogni today via the link below. Thanks to Incogni for sponsoring. Well, just like Incogni can shut down data brokers, Ebuyer, which was the UK's second biggest PC retailer, is also being shut down. Unfortunately, according to reports, they have to be liquidated because they are unable to pay their bills, and despite them being in business for over 25 years, they are having difficulties maintaining their business, and this is not even the first time a major PC store was shut down in the UK. And then we also talked about earlier this year, Mind Factory in Germany was also having some struggles despite having some really good sales. And so it appears like there's just some uncertainty in the economic prospects of all of these companies right now and creating a little bit of instability in the PC market. Let me know if this affects you. Was Ebuyer your go-to place if you're one of our UK viewers? And in case you're a US viewer, Reece is gonna try to help save you money here, but that gives the retailers less money, and we'll see if they stay in business.
Yo, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals out on the internet. Happy Friday, everyone. Hope you guys are ready for the weekend, and I'll jump into the deals for you. Starting off, we have this Sticklemonster Elite 301 Micro ATX case available for only $40.87, making it $24.12 off. And then lastly, we have this G.Skill Ripjaw S5 DDR5 RAM kit featuring 64 gigs running at 6800 megahertz at CL38 for only $168.90, making it a very nice $69.81 off. And hey, with that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, I'm gonna hand you back to Brett for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Well, Reece, it looks like HBO Max thinks their viewers were getting too good of a deal with sharing accounts, because just like Netflix and other streaming platforms that have gone before them, they are cracking down on password sharing. With the HBO Max, then named Max, then named, well, at one point it was named HBO Go, but now renamed HBO Max, says that they are going to be aggressive in determining who is a legitimate user and who is not, especially with regards to their earnings report discussing all of that, trying to get people to pony up. It appears like that was a very successful strategy, at least monetarily. From Netflix's standpoint, they've started to make more money since they started implementing more restrictive rules on who gets to share an account, and it looks like HBO Max is going to try to trot down that same path. But it looks like we're not trotting down the same old path of what's going on in GPU market share, because sales data came out for the month of July when it came to Amazon sales of 4 GPUs, and there's some surprising figures that are going on in here. Now, it's not a complete domination by AMD, but they are overputting what they typically show in the discrete graphics market, coming in with 22% of units sold, which is actually pretty impressive compared to Nvidia's 74 units sold. And it looks like Nvidia and AMD are roughly having the same average sale price of close to $550. Nvidia sells for a little bit more, AMD sells for a little bit less. But in case you're wondering what is the best selling GPU on the market right now, it appears to be the RTX 5070 with almost 18% of the market share when it comes to the amount of units sold. Then it's followed by the 5070 Ti, and then following that is the RTX 3060. You don't get to the first AMD GPU until the 5th spot in line, which comes after the 5060 Ti, and then that is the 9060 XT. The 9070 XT is not too many far spots behind that, with the 5060, 3050, and then AMD's highest end card being listed at that point. The one that's a little surprising to me is that the RX 9070 is actually pretty far back. It is selling worse than the RX 580 and the ARC A380 and the GT 730. Even though the RX 970 does have the capability of matching a 9070 XT, it's possibly just due to the pricing. The average sale price of every 9070 is $638, whereas for the 9070 XT, it's $886. I think if people are spending $650, they're like, I'm gonna spend $850. Potentially. I don't know if that's the actual reason, but it does look like the 9070 is just not that desirable. It's barely a few units above the ARC A310. In case you're wondering what's going on with Intel's GPUs, they're selling very poorly. They're not doing very great. The B580 is selling about the same as the A770 and A750, which is about the same as the GT210. So not great numbers for Intel. But one of the things to note that I was seeing while I was looking at this chart is that despite the fact that, you know, AMD is actually doing pretty well in market share, they're also doing pretty okay in the revenue share. The one card that is the massive revenue number for Nvidia is obviously the RTX 5090. If you look at it, it's only 4.3% of the sales. It's just below the RX 9070 XT, but due to its inflated price of the average sale being over $2,600, it accounts for 21% of the revenue of GPU sales for the month of July. So 5090 making Nvidia a lot of money. AMD doesn't have a flagship that quite goes up that high, but it does look like this current generation of cards is significantly performing and being a good boon for AMD's bottom line. As we saw in yesterday's video, we talked about AMD's earnings report. Their client and gaming sales are doing phenomenally, and they said that they were limited by inventory. And if that is actually true, they don't have enough cards out there on the market to actually suffice demand, then they could potentially even be higher in the rankings. Maybe we'd see the 96 9060 XT go up to 4th or 3rd place, and the 9070 XT climb a little bit higher as well. This appears to be exactly what I personally thought was going to happen with the RX 7000 series, because I thought that was a tremendous value. It turns out it wasn't quite good enough for the average consumer, but it looks like the RX 9000 series is hitting that mark in a way that the previous gen didn't. Let me know what you think of this information, data, all of that down below in the comments while I see what you had to say in yesterday's episode of Hot News. We got Wowie saying, I tend to give my used PC parts to friends and family that could use the upgrade. So when I purchase new hardware and use it for a few years, upgrading means 2 people will get a better experience. Out there, I have someone still using my old 1080 Ti that's installed in its 3rd or 4th PC build. That's a lovely way to do it. That's also I've seen friends justify unnecessary upgrades because they're like, well, you know, my wife or my girlfriend or my significant other, they are on, you know, they're on a really old GTX 960, so I can get rid of my 4080 and go up to a 5090 because they'll get the 4080, and that means I get the better card. Like there's 2 sides of that coin, but I also think that this is how I tended to do things before having the way we run the channel now, which is a little different. But I like the sentiment. Good job, Wowie Maui. And then Zero saying, well, I must be a unicorn who updates once every decade. I do not let release news sway me from that. Been a happy user doing that. I mean, I'm happy for you. That's awesome. But also, this is like one of the things that I think just continues to get missed in PC reporting and computer hardware news. Talk to anybody in the actual sales industry. Talk to anybody who actually makes this stuff and actually has the data, the figures to see what is their average customer retention, how long do people stay with the company, all of that kind of stuff. And the average upgrade cycle is 5 to 7 years. That's the average, okay? So half a decade to 3/4 of one. And being at a decade to upgrade is not a unicorn. It's not as prominent as what the average user would do. 10 years is not unreasonable. And I think there's this misconception with, you know, when people are putting out content, such as myself, we get access to the latest and greatest quite all the time. So we're upgrading quite frequently, but the average person does not have the disposable income or the need to do that kind of thing. And so it really kind of sways the appearance of it, but the average person is just now upgrading from their GTX 1070. That is the average thing. A 1070 to a 5070 upgrade is going to be a massive jump for whoever makes that, or going from the 1070 to the 9070 XT. Massive upgrade. You're going to have a great time doing that, and that is kind of what the expected upgrade cycle is when companies are putting this out. And that's also like one of the reasons why marketing charts don't necessarily always compare to the generation that precedes it. It's for the previous few generations, because that's who they're talking to. They're not talking to the people who bought a 4070 Super being like, upgrade to the 5070. They're talking to the 1070 users, and they want people to choose to upgrade to the 5070. So don't feel so isolated. Don't feel so unicornish unless you really want to. Then we got Dave Atkinson 4506 saying, you sell yourself as a news guy, but failed to mention Intel's earnings. Is that because they took in almost 12 billion last quarter? Please stop being so one-sided in your reporting. No, it's because I reported on it 9 days ago. It was the first thing we talked about on the episode of Hot News a while ago. I did discuss it. I did talk about it. I actually talked about how well Intel's doing and how besides the foundry, they're profitable. Intel might be flat, but they're making money in everything besides making chips. So I'm not, you're just not watching all the content, and I can't talk about every piece of content in every video. So if you don't watch everything, you're gonna miss sometimes that I talk about stuff. And if you accuse me of being one-sided, like, I would appreciate if you did your research before doing that, because like, it was really easy for me to find that I talked about this. Or you could just think I'm a shill. That's totally fine too, because, you know, I am. And I'm gonna shill on out of here. I'll see you guys back here for more of the hottest tech news, probably sometime next week. That sounds good.